Welcome to Control Room Conversations, a podcast that goes behind the scenes of live events to meet the people who make them happen. Welcome to Control Room Conversations. My guest today is Courtney Keeler. I worked with her several years ago. She's a producer for marketing and has just always been a wonderful human being the whole time I knew
Oh,
her. And
thanks.
she was
Thanks.
always there to help, always there to lend not just physical help of moving cameras and things around, but like mentally there to she was somebody you could trust to really have a situation. You didn't have to go and check on her or anything at all like that. So it was always nice to have a peer that you could hand things off to. So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah, but Courtney, introduce yourself to everyone.
Well, I have a film degree from the University of Kansas. As you said, I worked in marketing for over a decade, about almost 15 years, actually. I did producing TV commercials. I did digital advertising. I've also worked, when I worked with you, at a TV station for NBC affiliate. And before that, I was doing some theater, done musical theater. Right now, I've been dabbling back into YouTube to get a little video production back in. But I love doing photography, video production, um, anything related to that. I've worked on some feature films when I was in school, so I've kind of done it all.
Right. I mean, that's kind of one of those things that we also have in common is that we both have worked in many different areas. And my degree is more of a theater degree than it is a film
hmm
degree. So it's just kind of one of those things where you learn as you grow and,
Oh yeah.
you get excited about one thing or another.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so what's like a project that you've worked on that's been like very meaningful or had you really excited in your life?
Um, I think, well, I did love doing the commercials. That was really fun to do
Mhm.
because you got to just start from scratch. You would talk to the client, you would write the script, you get approval on that, then you'd go out and you would shoot it by yourself. Um, Come back, edit the whole thing, put the music on it, maybe do the voiceover yourself if you had to. And so it was really nice that the project that you would come up with was 100% you. Like you did not have anyone else really doing any of it. So it was kind of fun to say, I did that. I didn't just help on it. That was me. And like all the videos I've uploaded from onto my YouTube page of all the commercials, those were all me. Like
Mhm.
rarely did I have anybody else helping me on that. So it's that really made me kind of proud to be able to do all that. And I started recently just a personal project. I am a fan of silent films. So I started up like a little Instagram site just talking about silent films. And I thought, oh, I always loved doing documentaries. Maybe I should do some little documentaries about certain aspects of the silent film genre, the actors, things like that. So I've been kind of working on that a little bit too. And I'm really enjoying that because like no one's telling me what to do. I can do whatever I want.
Mhm.
And I've got quite a few people have been watching it. I've met a few people online that like it. So it's kind of been fun for me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
hmm
I mean, that silent film thing sounds like something I want to check out just
Oh,
because,
you should. Yeah.
I definitely will. Um, and like the commercial stuff, I was shooting and editing the commercials. I
hmm
wasn't doing the writing and I was talking to them and around those things, but I totally
hmm
understand especially in that smaller market of like central Iowa,
Yeah.
you really can just go completely creative and do your own thing. And a lot of people not only encourage you to do that, but are amazed at some of the things that you just kind of like pull out of thin air,
Oh yeah.
for their products.
Yeah. I I have you see a lot on social media, a lot of like crazy commercials, that
Mhm.
people have done over the years. And every time I see those, I'm like, we did stuff like that. Like that I know what that's like. It's really fun when you get a client that's on board to do something really different and fun, because
Right.
a lot of them are afraid to push things and they want to be, very conservative and just say, this is me and this is what I sell. Come to my place. And when you get someone who's on board to do something kind of crazy, that is so much fun.
Yeah. It does make a whole world of difference. Like I remember doing one, we had a kind of a guest producer for from the client, and we were
Hmm.
doing all these crazy, wonderful things, but I could tell the clients were like squirming,
Yeah.
and none of it made any air ever. But I was just like,
Hmm.
I was like, wow, this is a lot more like the bigger productions and things like that. That
Yeah.
I could tell that I'm like, oh, this guy has it almost not quite storyboarded out, but in his mind, I could tell he knew what the shots were he wanted. He knew everything he wanted. He was even
Hmm.
starring in a couple of the scenes because he just knew he was the guy for those things. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and like you said, one of the guys that I worked with, he was the main producer and he voiced over most of the stuff that we did.
Hmm.
He was writing it, voiceovering it, being there for the shoots, and that's, he was basically 5 days a week, every single day,
Yep.
just clunking out commercials. And
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of like your heart and your soul. But
Hmm.
the potential to do all that creativity and to have that freedom is just, it's nice. And it's something that I miss with like dealing with sponsors and things is they're like, oh,
Hmm.
we want this specific shot and this specific,
Oh, yeah.
and, just like even earlier this week, a cameraman got a shot at the end of something that matched what we were doing. And
Hmm.
I was like, I'm going to go to that at the end. And they were like, no, no, no. And then I was just like, I'm going to go to that at the end. And we went and they were like, oh, that's great. Who thought of that? I'm like, I'm like, yes, the cameraman shot it. I told you about it. I
Yep.
pointed at it. I'm like, I asked for your permission. You didn't give it to me, and I just overrode you because I'm just like, this is 100% the right thing to do for the
Yeah.
show. It tells the story. Puts the little bow on it that you didn't even know you needed.
Hmm.
Just,
That's always great.
you know,
Yeah.
it takes a lot to be that person. It takes a lot to push to make those things happen. And like
Hmm.
in like a more commercial recorded environment, you're able to like be like, okay, I'm gonna grab this and then I'm gonna do another take. Because
Yeah.
one of the silly things that happened at one point was I was working on this guy's independent film and he was in the middle of talking and he like freaked out because there was a deer right behind me and he wanted to shot at the deer and I like spun around and followed the deers for a little bit and like he was like auditioning me for a cameraman at that point in time and then he was like when he dropped me off at the end of the day he's like well maybe I'll call you back later and it was the deer footage that made him
Hmm.
happier than anything else because he was like oh, you didn't just get the deer when it was behind you. You
Hmm.
followed it down the valley and up the hill, and you were able to follow it on the camera shot. So it's just little things like that that it's interesting to have those freedoms. And,
Well, that's kind of the fun of it too. A lot of times I would just kind of say, we're going to have shots of, fill in the blank to be determined. Because when I
Mhm.
get down there, I'm going to see the place maybe for the first time because I'd never been there before. It was like a
Right.
2 hour drive or whatever. I'm like, I'm just going to see what they got. When I show up, I'm like, oh, this is cool. And we
Mhm.
could do this. And I would just, it's improvised. You get like 2 hours. So, make the most of it and get all the things because it's really hard to get back and get more coverage. So it was kind of a mix of planning, but then improvisation. And then sometimes you'd come up with just some really like cool stuff you weren't expecting.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, sometimes you'd get in there and you're just like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Like this, there's nothing here. So you have to kind of stay on your toes and be open to change and open to things going wrong, like something not working. Or
Mhm.
I showed one time and parts of my lights were missing. So I had to improvise that. But that actually ended up being one of my best most popular ads when my light wasn't working. I just improvised it and I still shot it and it looked great. So that's kind of the secret is just be ready for anything.
Yeah. And adapt to those things that are
Oh,
like,
for sure.
you know, yeah. I remember I did something
Yeah.
at one point in time where everything had a slight purple hinge to it. tinge
Hmm.
to it, and they loved it. Everyone loved it, and they thought it was a filter I put on there. And I'm like, nope, the camera just didn't take the white balance quite right,
Yep.
and the lighting was not good, and we got a
Hmm.
slightly purple shot, and you love it. Okay, great. But yeah,
Oh,
it's
for sure.
adapting. It takes a lot to do all those things. It takes a lot to see all that stuff. And I know that I have literally, back in the days when I was making DVDs as well and making the menus for those, I was
Hmm.
like, give me all the B-roll you can. Shoot everything.
Everything.
Even if it's
Yes.
just for 3 seconds, shoot everything. And like
Oh, yeah.
I still to this day talk about how when I did my internship, the guy who was doing camera there, he made a piece of paper look interesting
Hmm.
because that's what the client gave him was here's a piece of paper. We want you to shoot this piece of paper
Yep.
and the text on it. And I was just like, I saw him just take the camera and
Yeah.
turn it into a cinema event with just a piece of paper. And it's stuff like that that I'm like, it's massively impressive. It's so fun to be able to do those things.
Oh,
And,
yeah. Yeah.
and it's,
That's kind of that's really the kind of the magic of it. I don't think people really realize like what goes into doing stuff like that. Like they look at it and go, "Oh, well, like I've had, oh, I could do that." I'm like, "Really? You want to try it?" Because it takes a lot more than you think, you know?
oh yeah.
And that's it's like that's why I get the big bucks, right? But we put in a lot of work for just a short, like maybe 30 seconds of film or a minute or whatever you have. It takes a lot of work to get all that to make sense, you know?
Oh yeah, I was watching a video where they were talking about like the 180 rule and how
Hmm.
somebody was like, "Oh, I'm just going to shoot this and not even think about it." And then they were like, "Now I have a whole bunch of footage that I don't know what to do with."
Yeah.
And then the same person who was talking to them was like, "But some of the major directors out there do the exact same thing, and some of their chase scenes or what have you are completely unwatchable." And it's one
Hmm.
of those things where you do have to think it through, but you also have to improvise. And you also have to, be able
Yeah.
to adapt to a client who is going to be able to say something like, "Oh, well, that thing I told you was today. Well, it's not happening now." And,
Hmm.
and you're like, "Well, that's
Yes.
what I based everything off of."
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
fill, create, it's all, a big thing. But
Hmm.
uh,
Well, the one of those things you learn when you
mhm.
like when I started doing it, I hadn't really that was not something I studied or anything. I just kind of learned as I went and hung out with people. But I started learning on my own, like when you get somewhere, make sure and I would have this like setup in my head. Okay, I'm gonna pan right, then I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna pan left. Then I'm gonna have one that tilts up and one that tilts down. And then you always have four different ideas, and then the next shot has four or three, and you always have a variety. So you can always keep it moving. If you just say, I'm just gonna shoot this and then I shoot this, you're gonna end up where everything looks very samey. So I always in my head always said, okay, well, if I'm gonna do this, I have to do 2 to 3 different versions of this one little bit that maybe it was only 3 seconds. Maybe it was only up for 3 seconds
Right.
total. But if you planned it right, you'll have plenty so that if something doesn't work out, you've got an extra version of that. Or if one is going right, you don't want to have the next one going right. You want to have the next one going left, or zoom in, zoom out. You've got to have a variety. And so, the improv is there still, but you do have in your head like what you really need to do because you've shown up before to edit and you're like, oh crap, this is not going to work. I wish I had shot more. It's better to have extra
Right.
than to not have enough because you just cannot stretch enough. Even in 30 seconds, you just can't stretch it.
No, yeah, it's one of those things where you need like 2 more seconds of a shot sometimes.
Hmm.
You have to figure out what to do and whether or not you can slow mo it or anything
Yeah.
just to make that shot work if you especially if you're not prepared and
Oh, yeah.
it
Yeah.
also
Lots of
depends on
magic of editing.
and like at the TV station where we worked like they got the news helicopter when I was there and they were like
Hmm.
they came to us in the
Hmm.
commercial side and they're like, well, now we need to pay for this helicopter too.
Of
So
course.
how can we use this helicopter when it's not shooting news to shoot commercials?
Yes.
And it was just literally like we were all sitting there going,
Hmm.
not only that, but then what client is going to pay for helicopter
Exactly.
fuel and for a pilot to be up in the air? And
Hmm.
I eventually came up with a client because I was like, oh yeah, those are the people who don't care it's the middle of winter and we're
Yeah.
still shooting ourselves
Yeah.
outside. They don't care. We're shooting like three commercials for them a week. They don't care. They really don't care about their budget is
Hmm.
big. They don't care. And I was also like, and their stuff is literally photographable by a, helicopter. And I'm like,
But that's what they do with drones now, and those are
right.
so popular. And
Yeah.
I've had, like golf course clients love a drone, real estate clients love a drone,
Hmm.
It's that kind of like back then it was such a big, clunky, expensive deal. And now it's like pretty much anybody can get those shots and they want them now. They love that cinematic stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like I have a friend who's been doing drone pilot stuff for a while. I'll probably have him on the podcast eventually.
Hmm.
But I literally for a couple of months there was just like, if you have any time that you're doing something that I can hang out and just watch what
Oh,
you're
yeah.
doing and just get an idea. It's one of those things
Hmm.
where like for me, one of the draws for working in this industry is like I like puzzles. I like,
Hmm.
you throw a toy at me, I'm gonna figure out how to play with it and
Yeah.
make it work.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna, use my brain on that puzzle until I figure it out, and then I walk away, and then I'll come up with three more things while I'm away. It's kind of one of the things that I miss about the old school editing is like at that TV station where we worked, I would hit render, and then I would walk away and do 45 minutes of something else.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
as I was doing the other thing, I'd be like, oh, I should have done, like you said, a pan from left to right or right to left, or oh, hey,
Hmm.
wouldn't it be neat to do like an old school wipe here for these people? So,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just that sort of stuff that those puzzles are things that like really speak to me. Um,
Oh, yeah. But
one,
that's the best way to learn stuff too, because
mhm,
I had never I had looked at like like special effects software and stuff, but never really used it. And when I realized you can fix a whole lot of flaws and do a whole lot of cool stuff,
mhm,
if you know that, my downtime, I would just be messing with that and figuring out things I can do. And I mean, if you can teach yourself that stuff, it's can really save you a lot, and it actually make some really cool things that maybe somebody else can't do, an animation or something, and change the graphics up a little differently. But those mistakes are how you learn,
oh yeah,
and having to problem solve is how you learn. And I learned so much from my mistakes, and it actually encouraged me to want to learn more and do, more inventive things. And I so it's, don't be afraid to screw up, especially in the beginning, because you're going to learn how to fix that, and then you'll be able to do even cooler stuff from that knowledge.
yeah, absolutely. And it's literally one of those things where like problems tend to cause you to come up with the solution and figure out
Oh,
something
for sure.
crazy. Like one of the effects that I built recently is something that's not even for air. It's to just make camera tally lights flash so
Oh,
that
cool. Yeah.
people, the talent from a distance, know
Hmm.
which of the cameras to look at because
Yeah,
there are four
sure.
cameras right there.
Hmm.
I'm like, if I can make mine flash at them, then they know which one it is.
That's
There's,
cool.
you know,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things where I was just sitting there going, oh, how do I solve this problem of
Hmm.
them looking at the wrong camera? How
Oh,
can
yeah.
we do anything about that? Because literally the camera operator's waving at them from behind and they're still
Yes.
they're still not.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
That's really cool.
you know, it's just little problem solving things that, you sit there and you think about a problem for a while and you come up with a solution. But that's like for me why I'm one of the things I love about this. I also love like working in a group and being,
Yes.
collaborating and creative in that way. What are some things that you like, that drive you into this industry that keep you here?
Well, besides, creative output,
Mhm.
I found anytime I'm in a situation where I'm doing a really boring like paper type job. I'm like, I gotta make something. I'm a crafter in my spare time, and that's how I would like, I'm just like, I gotta make something. I gotta do something. I cannot not make things. And so that's what really drives me. And from the beginning, why I got into this stuff in the first place is because I just love storytelling. I like writing things and telling people things and showing people things and um even an advertisement, you're telling people a story. You're encouraging them to check this thing out, and that's what storytelling is all about, is to put an idea in someone's head, or teach them something they didn't know before, or make them want to learn more about something. And anytime, any project, I was going to it like, what am I trying to say? And that's where it comes from. Just the creative outlet of storytelling and informing and educating and entertaining, sometimes making people laugh.
Right. Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
just engaging with that audience in that way is like paramount of what we do on a regular
Yeah.
basis. So yeah, this is the area where you can reach out and where you can make those connections and everything. So
And that's one thing I found watching people on YouTube doing it all on their own. Like, you don't even have to have high production values, you don't have to have fancy equipment. If you have a compelling enough thing to tell someone, they'll watch it with, you in your bedroom telling them a story. I mean, that's the point of it. It's not flashy lighting and sets and whatnot. It's just good storytelling that is compelling, and that's what I think they have figured out. That's the secret.
right.
You
Yeah,
know.
it's definitely part of what's driving me with this is just, this whole podcast is just to reach
Yeah.
and tell the story of like behind the scenes
Hmm.
about people and what they're going through and everything. So one of the
Yeah.
reasons that I reached out to you is you were talking about having a gap at your work.
Hmm.
And I've
Yes.
I've had multiple times where I've had gaps in my work, and
Yes.
it's a rough place to be. And
Hmm.
a lot of the times you're only as good as your last job. That's literally
For
or
sure.
or your next job. Those are the two questions I get asked a
Hmm.
lot is where are you at the most? Where have you just been or where are you going? And it's one of those things where because I'm freelance and because I'm bouncing around to so many places, I have to like sometimes stop and think, or I have to like pull my phone out and be like, okay, where am I going in 2 days? Because I have no idea.
Hmm.
Yeah, the stopgap's real. When I moved from the Midwest to California, no one would hire me.
Hmm.
And I know that I sent out like over 1,000 resumes a year, and I was
Hmm.
reaching out to people almost on a daily basis of trying to just get in that door. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's, my specific origin story of escaping it was I literally went to an event, saw a lady with a camera and talked to her because she
Hmm.
she and I were the two people who were at that spot getting that a shot from that camera angle. And she
Hmm.
instantaneously just was like, "Oh, what you doing?" And I'm just like, "I'm just playing around with a new camera. That's really all I'm doing at this."
Yeah. Hmm.
But it's such a, and she passed me on to somebody who passed me on to somebody, which was a company that I'd already applied for. And,
Yep.
it makes it really hard, but
Oh yeah. I don't any like for our industry, there's a
mhm.
lot of industries where yeah, filling out a resume and all that stuff is the way to go, but for us I think networking is far more important because I'm trying to think, maybe two things I've ever done in my life were just from me blindly applying for something. And it was in the Midwest, which is a much smaller pool.
Absolutely.
But when I graduated from college, like I could have gone to LA, but I'm like, I am tired of being broke. I'm tired of struggling. I'm just going to go back to Iowa and live at home for a little while and see if I can get a little beef on my resume and then see what happens after that. And because I knew I had friends that went out there, and I think only maybe two or three of them are still doing stuff in the industry, and everyone else has kind of gone on to do other things because it's hard.
It is
It's really
tough.
hard.
Yeah.
Even if you know people, it's hard. So, I went back to after I had been working for quite a while, I went back to college to see one of my old professors. And he said, "You're a success." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm like making minimum wage. What are you talking about?" He's like, "But you're doing what you got your degree in. Like, that's huge. That's a success." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I guess it is kind of a success to actually have a, long-term paying job in this industry, pretty much almost right out of college. That's crazy."
Right.
So I was just looking at it like I should be getting the Oscar by now. Like what is the deal? But that is true. It's a tough industry.
Oh yeah. One of the on-air talent people that I worked with at one point in time
Hmm.
was like, I'm the guy who sold the cow and got the magic beans. And I'm just like, that is what this is. It's on a
Hmm.
basis. You've sold yourself as a cow and you're doing the project and you're making magic beans. Do
Oh
something
yeah.
for you because it's, and who knows when the next project's going to come. And it's part of
Hmm.
what I've said even about like the full-time work is it's so easy to see like something happen within an industry or within an environment where all of a sudden the budget goes away and it could
Yes.
have nothing to do with you. It could be too
Hmm.
up. And one of the places that I worked at recently, I watched it collapse because the lady got a better job somewhere else, and she left, and everybody
Yep.
shifted seats and
Hmm.
did things to, conserve themselves and make sure that they were safe, and at the same time, the work that
Yeah.
I was going to be doing, they automated a good part of it.
Yep.
And I was just like, well, budgets change, things change. When things go
Hmm.
the other way, I'll still possibly be around, but I might possibly be doing other things. So just keep me in mind. But it's one of those things where, again, the networking, like I need to reach out to those people again because it's been, over a year. So it's like, oh, time to just
Yeah.
kind of make that call and do that reach out. But it's
Hmm.
not necessarily guaranteed for anything, but it's just kind of a, hey, I'm here. This is what I do. This is who I am.
Yeah. But that's where, folks like us, our adaptability is really great because we can switch into other things, try something different, do something a little different, even if it's just for a short term, and then we can just hop right back in and be very adaptable. Where some people like, this is all I know how to do. So if I can't find a job doing that, what do I do? And I think that probably a lot of people don't even realize that people in this industry are extremely adaptable and flexible and can like just teach me how to do it. I will do it, because I've
Oh,
done
yeah.
it before. Technology is changing constantly. Software is changing constantly. The way people want things to look is changing constantly. Like you are always having to evolve and study and change and learn. And like, if you need somebody who can learn something on the fly, pick somebody who's worked in TV because they probably could pick that up really fast.
Yeah, and I agree with everything that you just said. And like
Yeah.
the other part of it too is like what you were doing, you're going to get a client that's out of from outer space,
Hmm.
and you're going to have to learn all their stuff and figure out how to do, turn their thing into something that is actually, sellable and or a
Yeah.
story that's relatable somehow.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that so many people just do not have whatsoever. And
Yeah.
their minds are blown whenever you pull things off like that.
Well, and also it involves like a lot of other things besides like the technical stuff. You have to be good at customer service,
Mhm.
talking to people. You have to be able to get into a good enough conversation with them that they can, tell you what you need to know
Right.
and that you can convince them like here's a good idea, this is why we should do this. You have to be basically selling them. You have to be um, kind of be friends with them for that short time so
Hmm.
they trust you. It's a lot of people pleasing and negotiation, and so there's like many aspects to this besides just getting out a camera and getting a nice looking shot. There's a lot of interaction that happens. And so you have to kind of have your hands in a little of everything to really be fully formed.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's kind of one of those things where I was looking at somebody who was saying, "Oh, I don't want to touch like a switcher
Hmm.
because it's too complicated." And I'm just like, every time I run into people, I'm like, "Yeah, there are a lot of buttons. Yeah, there's a lot of problems with this. Yeah, it's hard. It doesn't think the way that you think."
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you want to get the understanding to be able to ask
Hmm.
for the things that you want, it's kind of like, going to a restaurant that you've never been to before and you see an item on the menu that you have no idea what it is. And you could either avoid it or you can like pull out your phone and look up what it is and say, is this
Hmm.
something I want? Is this something I don't want? You know?
Hmm.
And it's like that level of like constant learning in this industry that,
Hmm.
being curious, is something that I talk about a lot. And just,
Yeah.
you know, allowing yourself to explore multiple options and
Oh,
to
yeah. Yeah.
and to keep an open mind and talk to people all the time.
Hmm. And that's what's fun about like collaborating
Hmm.
with a crew or a team is you get so many different ideas, or someone say, oh, wait, it'd be really cool. Let's try this. And you wouldn't have thought of that. So sometimes, working alone, it's great, but sometimes having just even one other person there can give you a totally new perspective on what you're doing. And because they have different background or different ideas, or they've done something similar and oh, you should try this. And that's kind of fun. And you learn from that too. So, you can do it all yourself if you want, but it is way more fun doing these things with other people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think I was really lucky to be doing what I was doing for so long because it was one of those things where you were full-time salary and they would just hand you stuff and you could, do the commercials, do the ad or whatever they needed to do voiceover work, whatever they would throw my way, I could just do that. And I never worried about the next thing coming along.
Right.
Um, but I went to school with a lot of guys that weren't in school anymore. They were just working from gig to gig, and they would hope a movie would come to town
Hmm.
and they could work that gig and they would get enough money to last them another 6 months and then hopefully pick up something else that comes along. But it was tough. They all left LA because they couldn't get any work out there. It was too much competition.
Right.
And they went out back to Kansas because they had a pretty decent feature film community. I mean, the films would come there all the time because of the all the benefits therein and no unions and things like that. And so they did a lot of movies out there, and that way I could kind of hitch a ride with them if they needed some help on those and get some experience. And I think that really, if I was giving advice to anybody who wants to get into this industry, school is great, but get in with people that are already doing this stuff. Find those people that are already doing it. Work for free if you have to, you know, work for food, whatever it takes, but get in there and get to know people because they will bring you along to the next gig and the next gig. And that's how you get the experience. That's how you get to know people. That's how you can move along. And that's how I got pretty much all my experience was not in school, but it was on the side while I was in school. And I think that's the only way these guys ever got jobs is they knew somebody who knew somebody who would call them, and say, "Oh, I know this guy's in town. Let's call him."
Right. And that's like for me, I've gotten jobs in every single way possible.
Hmm.
But it is a lot of word of mouth.
Hmm.
It's one of those things where like if I see a job ad, I will try and find somebody that I know who works there or has
Hmm.
space with it so that, you know,
Yeah.
they can at least be like, okay, John's cool, sort of if nothing
Yeah.
more than that, no more equipment, knowledge or anything at all. It's just, oh yeah, he shows up on time. That's really,
That's super important.
yeah,
A lot of times that's all they want is somebody who's reliable.
right,
If you'll show up, that's what I would look for at this point. You can teach them what they need to know, but if they show up, that's half the battle
right.
for sure.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just a hard thing in the industry to just even like the job search, unless you are like in a full-time position, job search is part of your life.
Hmm.
And like you said, looking for next
Oh,
gig, looking for
yeah. And
next
that's kind
gig.
of part of the reason I got into that.
Hmm.
I hate looking for work, especially in this kind of stuff. It's so hard to get in, and it's so hard to stay there. And I used to do theater before this, and it was the same thing. Auditioning just got so exhausting because you would just audition and audition and audition, and you might get one, but there'd be 6 million other reasons that you wouldn't get the other one. And sometimes it had nothing to do with your abilities. It just had to do with the way you looked or how tall you were compared to the other person or, something like that. So I got kind of tired of that and I wanted to get something that was a little more steady and normal. But at the same time, that can be kind of boring. It's kind of fun to try new things and different things and stretch a little bit and have room to grow. Like when you get into a position like that, the only next step is management.
Right.
And then you're not doing that stuff anymore. You're managing the people that do that stuff. So the creative stuff's kind of gone. And then you're just budgeting and sending people off places. So that, and if you want to do the creative stuff, you kind of get stuck at that level.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing that I've been kind of like on that fence between management and creative for a while now, going, it's
Hmm.
part of leaning me into producing a little bit more is because it's just like I want to have some creative control and I want to still be somewhat in charge, but at the same
Yes.
time, and even way back when we worked together, there was a point where I literally turned down a promotion at the TV station because
Hmm.
it was like, I don't want to get that far away from the camera, because
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just full-time graphics for news and it was just a lot of data entry and
Hmm.
it
Oh,
was,
yeah.
the old school thing where there was a printer next to me and it printed out a page for every graphic I had to build and it never stopped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with that. That is kind of the catch. So unless you're, in Hollywood and you can become a director and be kind of doing it all,
Hmm.
you kind of have that hierarchy you have to keep in mind. So,
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to talk about specifically or anything
um,
outside of the normal?
what you brought up was pretty good.
Okay.
I think I have a lot of insight into being a woman in an industry that's
Hmm.
pretty much male dominated. I've had a lot of women bosses, weirdly enough, but I haven't had a lot of people just on the team as women. And I find that kind of
Right.
strange why even today, started studying this in the 90s and it's still, you don't find a lot of women doing video production or television production. It's kind of a strange thing. So I have my ideas of why that is, but
Right.
I think it's an ongoing thing. And I want to encourage girls who are, especially with the YouTube generation, like if you're into video, like do it professionally.
Hmm.
Get out there. There needs to be more women.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm seeing more of it right now myself,
Hmm.
but at the same time, there's also like that glass ceiling that I literally
Yeah.
see happening. And, at one of the places that I no longer work at, part of the reason I no longer work there is because
Hmm.
I literally turned to a woman who was working there at that role and I said, I don't see you scheduled. Why am I scheduled?
Hmm.
You know, I'm like, did you ask? Literally, I had to be like, did
Oh
you
yeah.
ask not to do that role? And she's like, no. And then I'm just like, okay, well, now this stinks. Now this turned into, a level of I don't want to deal with this because,
Oh yeah.
certain women are supposed to be in certain roles in certain people's minds. And I'm just like,
Oh yeah. Oh,
no.
for sure. For sure. I frequently the last video job I worked, I did it for over a decade. And a lot of times I was the crew.
Hmm.
And I would go out into these like rural areas of Iowa and I would be shooting a commercial and I would light it, and I've written it. They'd talk to me. The clients knew me. They knew I was a woman. And I'd show up and they would still say, "Where's your guy?" And I'm like, "I'm the guy. I am it. I'm doing it." So, and many times would just be kind of like, how can a woman do, carry this heavy equipment around and set up these lights and stuff? Like they just were shocked. And this was, not that long ago. People were still surprised that a woman would drive out and do all this by herself and come back and could do the whole thing by herself. And there were only two of us in that department that did that. The rest were guys. And so occasionally we'd bring a guy with us as an assistant, but the people would still talk to the guy like he was running the show.
Right.
So it's a societal thing as well. It's just people don't believe a woman can do all this stuff.
And you can.
Oh,
100%.
for sure. I
100%.
did it 8 months pregnant. I was carrying around light boxes and cameras and going up and down stairs. I mean, there's nothing stopping us from doing this stuff. It's crazy, especially today when the cameras are smaller and lighter and everything. There should be nobody looking at us funny that we can't do this.
No. And
No.
there's just so many successful people
Yeah.
doing this as like their main job at this point.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know, it's weird to have that bias be a thing for me
Yeah.
because it's just like literally like the show I was working on last night, there was a lady in charge of everything. She'd
Hmm.
done the whole thing for the whole season. I'm just coming in to fill in for one show.
Yep.
And then the girl sitting next to me is doing her thing. She hadn't been there for the whole show, but she'd been there more than I had. So I'm literally leaning on them 100%,
Oh yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
100%. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I am mostly just a seat warmer who is slightly smarter than a seat warmer at this point
Yeah.
because what she's literally
Yeah.
doing is just being like, okay, she said to do this, she said to do this, and I'm translating it into words that other
Yeah.
people can hear. But I also know that there is a bit of that factor that somebody was telling me as well that just because it comes from a woman, sometimes there are certain men who just won't respond to it and things like that. And
Yeah. Yeah, and I
like,
think some of it is also a technical thing as well. Like if you go on YouTube and you look up um, YouTube channels about cameras and video production stuff, the majority of it are guys running those.
mhm.
You don't see a lot of women doing camera reviews and talking about shooting things. You have to look for them, but you'll find them, but they just aren't as prominent. So I think sometimes they just look at that as like it's a technical bias as well, that girls just aren't into that stuff. They want to be on camera, but they don't want to be running the camera. So hopefully more people will see those and they can become more prominent and young girls can say, "Oh, I could do it." I mean, I never growing up and my sisters and we all used the video camera. We all made little videos. We had
Mhm.
didn't even think that this was not something girls did. So I think it's it's kind of a weird thing. I don't know where girls fall off at some point of thinking that they can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's just like you were saying, it's just like some sort of weird cultural bias where
Yeah.
certain things get put in certain people's hands based off of gender or race
Yeah.
or whatever. And
Yeah.
yeah, like with this specifically, I tend to say like the more voices you have, the more universal your story is going to be, the more
Oh, for
people will reach
sure.
out,
Oh
the
yeah.
better thing you're going to have. There's things that you would never have thought of that somebody's going to mention some small detail that once you hear it, you're like, oh, that
Yes.
changes everything. And
Yeah.
the majority of my job is finding out what those details are and pulling them
Mm-hmm.
out of people, sometimes like to the level of pulling teeth, where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
you said this thing about this thing that's pink. What's this thing that's pink? I need to know. Oh, this whole event's sponsored by breast cancer awareness. We need to focus on that a little bit then,
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing.
Well, it
Um,
even comes down to like details of if you are, shooting a talking head of a woman
mhm,
and a guy might not notice a bra strap sticking out or
right.
there's a hair astray that a woman would want that to be important. And guys, I've seen videos where
Oh
no
yeah.
one noticed that stuff, and you're like, I would have noticed. That was the first thing I saw, you know. And if you
Hmm.
don't have a woman's perspective, making sure everybody, the women are comfortable who are on camera, and I find a lot of times women do feel more comfortable being shot by a woman because they know they're
Right.
being looked out for, and we're kind of on the same level, I guess.
Yeah, and that,
Yeah.
I kind of do something like that, and you might have been somebody who influenced me to do that because I do know that
Mhm.
like I will. after everything is set up and I'm getting ready to go, I'll just switch my brain into let's look at that appearance. Let's look at, is there any spots on their shirt? Is there anything that,
Yeah.
you know, uh,
Yeah, and I don't want to say that's like sexist that men don't notice that stuff, but
no,
women generally do pick up on things like that because they would want people to see that for them a lot of
right.
times.
And I'll do
Yeah.
it for the guys and the girls and
Yeah.
anything at all. If I see something's off, I'll be like,
Hmm.
buddy, and like I was working on another thing recently where I was remembering the time before when a guy had a problem with his hair in a certain spot, and
Yep.
I built an effect so that he could see himself, so that he could,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just
It's
like,
the little things
yeah, it adds up. It adds up to a lot,
for
and it,
sure.
like those different perspectives really just make everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I generally would get assigned doing a lot of stuff having to do with like women's products and women's
Mhm.
businesses. And you would first go, oh, well, I could shoot a car dealership, I could do stuff. But shooting a clothing store,
Right.
you have if you're shooting it for a woman and you're selling to a woman, you have that perspective already built in. So it makes it a
Mhm.
little more, innate in
Right.
most cases. So those are actually kind of the most fun ones, is when they're ones that you really identify with, unlike,
Mhm.
something like um stair lift commercial for a stair lift coming. I'm like, well, I'm not really
Right.
into stair lifts. So, this is more fun to do bakeries or, women's products or a clothing store or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, there are certain things that like if I've never done it before, then
Hmm.
I won't even touch it because I know,
Hmm.
like I saw a job at one point in time and I was like just showing it to my wife and I was like, here's this beauty product line. Do you know anything about
Hmm.
it whatsoever? And,
Yeah.
do you know what they're, because I'm trying to look online a little bit just to see what their marketing campaign is to see if I can
Yeah.
even remotely touch it. And like that one, I literally looked it up and I was like, oh no, I'm absolutely not qualified for this. I'm
Hmm.
not going to
Hmm.
properly present it. I mean, I can set up all the cameras and put everything in front
Yeah.
of it, but at the same time, it's going to probably be, at least a 30-day learning curve before I really start saying, okay, I really understand what's going on here.
Oh yeah. And you can tell if somebody's not really enthusiastic about the
Hmm.
project. It kind of shows, If I'm
Oh, yeah.
excited about shooting it, I'm going to maybe put a little more into it and do some different things that maybe someone who's just like, I'm just going to get in, get the shots, get out.
I guess one of the other questions I was going to
Hmm.
ask is for you, what is like a job that you would love to have right now? What's something that if
Anything? No.
pretty much anything, but also realistic as well?
Um, Honestly, right now what I'm looking for is something that it can be advertisements or just short form type stuff, but anything that involves making short form videos or animated videos or something, uh, that could be digital advertising. I love doing little things like that, or little pre-rolls for YouTube, things like that. Just doing little short videos for people. And I do know enough of social media marketing and stuff that I can do short videos for social media channels, Instagram, YouTube. I can do X, any of those things. Like, I love trying new things, and I just barely got to crack into those kind of things professionally, but I've made a lot of Instagram reels and TikTok stuff for myself, and it's really fun. It's really fun. So I would love to get into any of that for a small business, a big business, um, nonprofit, anybody. If I could tell a story for you and put together a campaign, that would be really fun.
Yeah, that sounds it sounds fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it's everything that we've talked about. It's all the
Hmm.
creative accumulations, stepping into new spaces that, it being brave enough to step into those new spaces and learn
Hmm.
you need to learn and grow and having those abilities. So, where can people find you?
Um, I I say the easiest thing to do is just go to my plain old website that has all my links to my socials and my LinkedIn, and has my portfolio you can find there. And that's at CourtneySBKeeler.com.
Excellent.
Very easy. And you can, anything you need to know, you can even contact me from there. So very easy.
All right. Well, thank you for being on my podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's
Of
kind of
course.
fun. I don't get to talk shop very much, so this is great.
That's part of what we're doing here is making sure that we do have the moments to talk and just
Yeah.
because it's also one of those questions as well as like how do you describe to people who don't do we do what you do?
Oh, yeah.
And
And I am a huge nerd of behind the scenes stuff. Like that's when I was a kid, that's all I watched were these, shows about how movies were made, all the
mhm,
behind the scenes stuff. I just, I find that fascinating. I love hearing how people do their jobs and secret behind the scenes stuff. That's just really fun. I hope people, enjoy this, hearing a little bit about it.
yeah, I'm hoping if nothing else, just other creators and maybe people who want
Oh
to
yeah.
grow and become part of this lovely industry that we're in and create and
Yes.
you know learn from each other.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing, and just kind
Oh,
of
sure.
keep
Yes.
talking about what we're doing and even like the struggles, but also like the successes. Because I look at
Yeah.
you, I see a very successful person. So
Oh, thanks.
yeah. But again, thank you for
Yeah.
being on the show. I really
Yeah.
appreciate
Thanks for
it.
having me. I
And I'll
appreciate it.
definitely reach out again. I'm sure at some point.
Oh, please do. Please do. I'm always here.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.